Question comes from Matthew 8, verses 11 and 12. And it's amazing how the Lord works, because I tried to call a few weeks ago about this, and I was going to ask if these two passages, this and what the previous caller just called about, but I realized that in that passage, the Lord said the kingdom of heaven is likened to. So it was sort of like a parable, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And here, he just tells them, he's just told a Roman, he's like, I haven't seen faith in Israel like this. And then he tells them, he says, I tell you, many will come from the east and west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, but the children of the kingdom shall be cast into outer darkness, and there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So I'm curious what he means about the sons of the kingdom. Is he just referring to the non-believing Jewish people?
Well, yeah. Listen, just because you're a son doesn't mean you're a good son. I know friends of mine that have very evil sons. They're still a son. They knew better than to live the life the way they're living it. But because they've chosen the ways of the world, they're not going to heaven. Now, again, sons of the kingdom, I believe, can be those in right standing with God and wrong standing with God, but that doesn't guarantee them an eternal reward just because you're a son. And that was the problem that Jesus had, or maybe I should say the Pharisees had with Jesus, is the Pharisees thought because, and they'd always say, our father Abraham taught us, implying we're his son, that they inherited their spirituality. Never mind that they were plotting the death of Jesus and and Lazarus as well. It shows that they were sons, but they were wicked sons. And in fact, we go back into the Old Testament. We see Eli's sons were wicked. So just being a son and knowing about the kingdom of heaven doesn't make you right with God. Having in God we trust money in your pocket doesn't make you a Christian, or being born in a, so to speak, Christian country, not much so anymore. Your thoughts?
Exactly, Mike. And, it's interesting because just like the last parable that we talked about, in that parable, the one main point was this: make sure you're dressed in a way that honors the king for the wedding feast. That's what it was all about. And again, the only way to be properly dressed was to be clothed in the righteousness of Christ through faith in him. You come to this point, and what's the one main point being given here is the fact that when Jesus told everyone around him that he hadn't seen such great faith in all of Israel than what he saw in a Gentile Roman centurion, a soldier, that would have been so offensive to his fellow Jews and even to his disciples and all those around him. So what his main point here, again, as Mike said, is this: don't think just because you are Jewish, you are part of Israel, don't think that just because you're sons of the kingdom, in the sense that, the kingdom is for you, that other people aren't going to get in and you are going to get in. That's really what he's saying here. And so that's why when he mentions there will be those who will come from the east and the west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, who's he talking about there? He's talking about the Gentiles that will come in through faith in what he will do for them. And so again, the one main point here in this little parable Jesus gives, and he just kind of tacks it on to the end of this event here, is the point that, listen, don't think that because of who you are, in this sense, these people being Jewish, that they were going to go to heaven. And Paul brings up that same issue in the book of Romans in chapters 9 through 11. He talks about the importance of Israel to God, especially in prophecy and in the future. But then he says, not everyone who is of Israel is of Israel. In other words, not every Jew is going to be saved because they didn't place their faith in Jesus Christ. And so it's the same point that's being made here. So again, as we read these kind of things, we always want to look for the one main point. What's he saying? And that's what he's saying. And he's explaining this off of the back of seeing this Gentile who really believed in him and had great faith in saying that, you know what, just speak the word and my servant will be healed. I know that. And so Jesus was using that to demonstrate, who will actually make it into the kingdom. So